Because I worked very hard, Kevin. I worked very hard for many years. I was able to save money, so I am not worried economically. But I do believe that some of the challenges in the coaching world are related to, and I hear my colleagues, and to some extent to myself too, what I was sharing with you before, and there is a reduction of work. And in part is because of AI, in part is because of the economy, in part is because of the government regulations and tariff and cuts. So I see some of my colleagues that they are suffering from that, they don't have enough work. So that's kind of a surprise to me.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we are joined by Damian Goldvarg. He's the founder of Goldvarg Consulting Group, been a coach for 30 plus years. Welcome to the show, Damian.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You know, one of the things when you said, I've been coaching for 30 plus years, I was like, wow, that's almost as old as me. And so one of the things I'm very curious about, I'm a baby still. I'm very curious about, like, you could have been a sushi chef, you could have been a professional golfer, but of everything, you chose to be a coach. Not only that, you turned it into a business. So I'd love to hear the story about that, about how you became a coach.
My background is as a psychologist. So my PhD is in organizational psychology, but my first degree from Argentina, where I am from, it was in clinical psychology. So when I graduated from school, my first job was working in the school district as a psychologist. And my job was going to schools and meeting principals, teachers, and parents and help them to be more effective. So that was coaching. At that time, coaching didn't exist. That was really, was in 1997 I graduated. So 87. So I moved to the United States in 1990. So in 87, I don't know, you were born around that time or later, I don't know.
88.
In 88. When in 87, I graduated from school and I got this job. So I have been coaching as much as you since you were born. So that job, I helped parents, teachers, and principals to be more effective. We didn't call it coaching at that time because coaching didn't exist as a professional practice. I was part of the job of the psychologist, helping people to be more effective. So I got that job for a couple of years, and then I moved to the United States in 1990. And at that time, in January, it's going to be 6 years that I moved to Los Angeles, where I live. And I went back to school and I got a master's in counseling and the PhD in organizational psychology and started working in leadership development, doing leadership training. And when I was hired at one point in 2000 to work for a company doing leadership training, they asked me also if I wanted to coach the people after they finish the training processes. So formally, I started coaching as an executive coach in 2000. So it depends when you start counting formally or informally. And then in the last few years, I started to train coaches. So Kevin, I have been training coaches for more than 10 years now. So part of my job is to coach executives, but part of my job is also to train professional coaches, to train mentor coaches, coaching supervisors, team coaches. So part of my business is also training other coaches and writing books. So my book number 11 came out a couple of months ago, and it's a book about coaching skills for leaders, how leaders can maximize people's potential by being more coach-like. So I present a coaching framework from the International Coaching Federation, and I apply that to leadership. And in the process, in the last 20 years, I got involved with the International Coaching Federation, first in my local chapter and then globally. And I was in the global board of directors for 6 years. And for 2 years, I was the global president. So that gave me a lot of opportunities to meet coaches worldwide and make a difference working with people worldwide. And then for my this company that I worked in 2000 was called Personnel Decisions International, and they sent me all over the world to do leadership training. I work in more than 50 countries in person over the years, mainly in Latin America, because I am Argentinian, I speak Spanish, and there were not too many Spanish speaker professionals. So I travel and I work in most Latin American countries, most European countries. And at one point, Kevin, they needed a trainer in Asia, and they had it, and I had really good evaluation for my programs in Latin America and Europe, and the trainer in Asia didn't do well. So they asked, okay, we need a very effective trainer. So they sent me, and I was very lucky because they started sending me to all of these countries in Asia. So I got to see many places that I really love. So I am very lucky that I have been able to travel and see many countries. And you say you're going to Vietnam soon?
Yeah. I'm going to be out of Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, all over Asia. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. Man, that's so exciting. So one of the interesting things I'm thinking about is like, okay, so kind of I see this career that you built, but like, let's fast forward to this day. Like, how do people find out about you? Because I was looking at your LinkedIn, you have quite the following. You have like 17,000 people or something like that following you. Is that right? Yeah.
It's interesting, Kevin, because when I got my first 1,000, I was so happy. I was celebrating that I got to 1,000. And I worked very hard to get the 1,000 people because that was my goal. And then I stopped inviting people and being very active in building my network because that was my goal. And then from there, organically, people start joining me and my and I post twice a week. And then I also have a podcast like you. I had two podcasts, one in English and one in Spanish. And my podcast goes live. And one of the podcasts goes live in LinkedIn. So I have one more posting every week. And I do it with my family because I got everybody in my family to become coaches.
Yeah.
So I inspire my parents, my brothers, their wives, my nephew, my physical trainer, 4 of my closest friends. All of them, I got all of them to go through coaching training because I believe that these skills are life skills.
That's beautiful. And so everybody around you is like kind of affected by your work too. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's
and so
inspirational.
one of the things, yeah. And one of the interesting things that like I heard is like, not only do you coach, like it seems like you have different business models to your consulting group, right? You're like helping other coaches. Are you still doing direct coaching as well and stuff? Like I'm kind of curious about
I do too. Yeah. I coach leaders. Who are your clients is confidential, but because I have some arrangements where I can ask for permission, so I can share with you that I work for the United Nations.
Wow.
And the UN Secretariat got an award for their work on coaching. So I'm very proud of being part of that. I have been working for the UN Secretariat. And currently, I'm working for UNICEF. So I get to work as a coach with representatives of the different offices all over Latin America. And then I have other clients, but this is confidential who are the clients. But this I can share because it's okay.
That's so cool. Like, man, those are really, really big organizations, When you mentioned these names, and I know you're coaching other coaches as well in these organizations, right? It sounds like what you're doing is a lot of work, kind of intimate. And so like, how do you manage your client capacity? Like, do you have a whole team helping you right now for your coaching business?
No, not really.
Really?
What I have, because I do trainings and the training have different components, like there are parts where they work one-on-one on receiving feedback in mentoring or supervision. So I have a team of colleagues who provide mentoring, supervision, but I do most of the trainings myself.
I see.
And I do multitasking. I am the trainer, I sell the programs, I do the administrative work. I do everything. I do everything. And I had help in the past, but in that right now, I do everything myself.
It sounds like it's by design because you've had that before.
It's a small business. I never wanted to have a big business, Kevin. I had opportunities to get big contracts, and I didn't care about them because it required a lot of complexity, hiring people. So I never wanted to have a lot of employees working for me. I just wanted to do my job. It's simple. It's less headaches, and then I may get some help with when I need some help.
I see. Now, one of the other things I'm very, very curious about, because you have these you're coaching organizations and leaders, right? Of course, you don't have to give any hard numbers, but one of the things that I notice coaches struggling with is pricing, and like they're wondering like, oh, how much do I charge? Like, and all that. There's a lot of discussion, but the problem is no one really ever talks about it ever. And so, kind of curious, like, how do you think about structuring your pricing and stuff? Like, how has it evolved over the years too? Because I'm sure back in, I think you said in the early 2000s, and now it's probably changed quite a bit.
Yeah, you're right. This is interesting because today with AI, you can ask AI to provide you data about it and suggestions. And so you can use, I use that for everything. And I tell my clients to do the same. And when people ask me these kind of questions, I say, okay, go to AI and you will get any data and information you need. And the International Coaching Federation also, that is the biggest organization that provides training that provide credentials for coaches and for coaching schools and organizations. They have their own research team that they research these kind of things. So you can also go to International Coaching Federation website, and there are some reports. For example, the last coaching study that share that what is the average of how much a life coach and executive coach are charging. It's around 250, 275, I think, for executive coaching. And so these are places where you can go and collect that data so you get an idea about how much you charge. Then it's also with your niche. It's different if you work for profit than for non-profit, if you work for government, education, and then some sectors, for example, this year have been particularly affected. So, for example, I have a contract with a university, and they were telling me, Damian, next year we always start in January, but next year, because of everything that's happening in the university system, instead of starting in January, we're going to start in September, like in the fall. Work with government agencies, and the government agencies also got a lot of cuts with the new administration, and they say, well, coaching and training is not a priority. We don't have a budget. So sometimes you need to adjust also your fees to your clients.
The other thing I want to ask you too, thank you for sharing that, by the way. Like, there's a lot of nuance with pricing that you kind of shared. But then the other thing I'm also very curious about is like, you've been a coach for a while now. And so I'm kind of curious, like, where do you want this coaching business to take you in the next few years? It sounds like you kind of want to keep it small, but do you have any like secret dreams or ambitions no one knows about? Very curious there.
Kevin, after so many years, I'm ready to retire. Like I'm a little bit older, like you, like it seems I can be your father. So when you get to this stage in life, you start thinking, okay, what's next? And maybe next is just to retire. But I see my parents, who are my role models. Both of them are psychologists. I follow them to be psychologists. They follow me to become coaches. And they are in their 80s and they are still working. So I do believe that I will be like them. I think I will work till my last day. I don't think that I am going to retire. But I think that I was pretty ambitious. I accomplished my goals that I had in my life. And now it's more about relaxing, being of service, enjoying life, doing things that I want and letting go, things that I don't want to do, being able to say no. I used to travel a lot and also doing volunteer work. Now I do a little bit less of volunteer work. And then I choose really what I want to do and have fun. And I wrote 11 books, so probably I'm going to continue writing books. Probably, maybe my dream is to keep being relevant, is to keep being of service, keep contributing. So different ways of contributing. And as I also have a podcast. I also have social media. I see it as a way to be an influencer. So in these ways, it's like you contributing is important to me.
The other thing I'm curious about, because you're at the tail end of your career, but I guess like in this season of your life or coaching business right now, what are some growing pains that you're kind of noticing, right? Like some people might call them challenges. I think about them as growing pains, but is there anything unexpected that you're noticing right now?
Well, because I worked very hard, Kevin, I worked very hard for many years. I was able to save money, so I am not worried economically, but I do believe that some of the challenges in the coaching world are related to, and I hear my colleagues, and to some extent to myself too, what I was sharing with you before, and there is a reduction of work. And in part is because of AI, in part is because of the economy, in part is because of the government regulations and tariff and cuts. So I see some of my colleagues that they are suffering from that they don't have enough work. So that's kind of a surprise to me. I was not expecting that to happen. It's interesting, during COVID, I didn't have any cuts. During COVID, I worked more. And when I was in other people that have problems and issues, I was pretty busy. But I think that that's one of the things that you see some challenges for new coaches, particularly, and I do believe that something new will be developed. So I am positive that coaching will still be relevant. People will still work with coaches, but maybe we will need to change how we integrate AI to our work. We may need to come up with new practices, new tools, new ways to support leaders to be more effective. Things that may have not been created yet.
How are you thinking about AI? You kind of alluded to it a bit more, but how do you feel like things like AI would affect coaching?
I love AI. I really have fun with it. Today I was talking to AI, having conversations, check information, knowing that it's not 100% reliable, so you cannot count 100% of the information you get from it, but still it's helpful. I think it enhances our lives in many ways. You should not, like everything, you have to you give it a good use. Everything that is not used well has a negative effect. And so if it is used well and effectively and ethically, I think that AI can enhance our lives, our work. So I see it as something positive from the perspective of integrating into our work. And I also know that most professions are being alterated. Most professions are being changed because of AI. So it's how you how you pay attention and look what are these trends, look at the signals from the future, integrate them versus not wanting to deal with it. That's a problem. When people don't want to deal with it, don't want to go there, it's a problem because you are left behind.
Yeah, I spoke to one person on one of my podcasts here, and she's so terrified about AI. She was like, "Oh my God, it's going to take over. She's going to shut down her business." I was like, "That's crazy." How terrified she was, but it's really interesting to see someone on your end like really enjoy it. I love AI as well. Like I feel like it's such a great tool. One of the last questions I have for you, I have this segment called Overrated, Underrated. As a business owner and a coach, you've had a lifetime supply of advice by now. Some of it great, some of it terrible, most of it unsolicited probably. And so I'm kind of curious, what's the most overrated piece of business advice you've gotten so far? And what's the most underrated piece of business advice as well? So overrated is kind of like something that is repeated all the time that it feels like kind of cliche. Yeah. And then underrated, it's kind of like, what's something that you wish people took more seriously?
Well, let's start with the last one. This is related to AI. This is related to AI. No matter what is your career, no matter what is your profession, AI is going to be affecting it. So how you pay attention to that? So I think that some people are not paying attention to that. And I think that's a problem. That will be that piece. I would definitely invite your listeners, people who are listening to us today, to learn more about how to integrate AI to their lives and to their works and to their careers for the future.
By the way, how do you see people using AI in their coaching businesses in the future?
Well, there are from different ends. First, from the logistically perspective, just to keep track of meetings, notes, send invitations to meetings, sometimes recording the sessions and analyzing the sessions. So there is a part that is logistical, and then there is a part about content. AI can also recommend the coach based on the recording and the transcript, questions to ask for the next session. So it can become a co-coach. So there is a part of the logistic, in part is content, and in part is brainstorming. Sometimes you have a question and you have me a question. It's okay. Let's ask just ChatGPT. Let's listen together. Let's see what is out there, what we can learn. So you use it for all of the different ways. And so people who are not paying attention to that, definitely you should be doing it. For the other one, it's more difficult to come up with something that is overrated. I'm trying to think, what could that be? A message or something that I don't think nothing is coming up now. I think spontaneously. Maybe later tonight something will come up.
Maybe later tonight. It's okay. Yeah, I was just kind of curious if there's any cliche sayings that kind of like is kind of like a pet peeve of yours or anything like that. Cliche advice. But if there's nothing that comes up, that's totally cool. Okay, last question for you. How can people find you? How can people connect with you?
Well, people can find me in LinkedIn. I have a profile under my name. You see Damian Goldvarg. If you Google me, you will find a lot of information. Maybe a good resource is I have more than 500 videos in YouTube. So there is a lot of free content. And half of them is in Spanish and half in English. And you will find coaching sessions, demonstrations, so you can see how I am working with my client or how I am training coaches through demonstrations. I have keynote speaking at conferences because this is something I also do, is keynote speaking.
Mhm.
I have webinars on classes that I have been teaching for years on different topics. Coaching, leadership, supervision. So there are like different files. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Damian Goldvarg, you will find all of the different files with all of the different recordings on different topics, team coaching. And so these are all of the topics that I have been doing. And my podcasts also are there. And then in LinkedIn, and then I have my website. If you put goldvargconsulting.com, my last name Goldvarg, consulting.com. I have a newsletter, so people may be interested in subscribing to my newsletter and receiving information about our activities. If you go to my website, you can get the details. And also, Kevin, if I pass that to you, you can also share with people, correct? If I share with you my
Yep.
social
That's
media
right.
information.
Yep. We can do that. Cool. Well, Damian, as I'm looking back at my chicken scratch handwriting and stuff like that, there's just so much I took away. Like some of the things I took away wasn't a particular point, but as I'm like looking back at my notes, I'm just like, wow, what else is possible, right? It's really interesting seeing someone in your season of your business near the tail end, right? Where you're winding things down. But as we reflect on your career, it's really amazing the books that you published, the social media following that you've kind of built over the years and all that. And just the amount of impact, because I think about like you coaching like the UN or UNICEF or anything like that. And I'm sure it impacts like, sometimes we forget the magnitude of these coaching sessions and how many lives it actually impacts. So that's my really long way, Damian, of just saying, hey, I appreciate your work. Your work matters. And thank you so much for coming on to our podcast today, Damian. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Kevin. One last thing that I want to say is that my career, I came to the United States, I shared with you 36 years ago. And when I came here, I came only with $400. So I had to start from scratch. I didn't bring much money. I had some help. I have help from family who supported me. I could stay with them in their home. But we cannot do anything alone. Our careers, we need to get other people to help us and to support us. We can do that later in life for others. But for me to be successful in my career, depending on being able to ask for help and receiving help. And I think many times people have issues and challenges in asking for help. So my piece of advice or comment before we go is that be sure that you don't do this alone. That even though I have my business alone, I still have colleagues that do different jobs for me that I hire as consultants, supervisors, mentor coaches. Get people who you respect, you appreciate, engage them to support you. You also support them, but think strategies to engage others to support you, because we cannot build a career and a successful career alone. We always depend on other people.
When you only came with, last question for you, when you only came with $400 to the US, I'm pretty sure that, I'm not sure if you had this dream from the very, very beginning, like, oh, I'm going to build this coaching business and all that, like at the very end. But, you know, when you're in transition, sometimes, you know, it's tough because you feel like that transition is going to be forever. Was there anything that you kind of told yourself in those like really difficult times, I guess?
Well, it's about trusting ourselves. It's trusting, like as you are getting ready to travel to Asia, Kevin, you're taking a risk, because now you live in Las Vegas, you know what it is to live in Las Vegas, you know your life, but you don't know what is coming up. It sounds very exciting, but you don't know yet till you get there. And for all immigrants, everybody who has to leave their country and move to a different one for their careers and for their lives, that requires some trusting yourself, trusting the future, trusting that things are going to work, and doing your work. I worked very, very hard, but I was willing to take a risk. I see many times people are not willing to take a risk to have a life that they love. So many people don't like their lives, they don't like their jobs, they don't like what they are doing, but they may not be willing to take risks to get there. So I had to tell you, I took risks in my life many times. I took a risk when I moved to the United States. I took a risk when I left that company that hired me to travel all over the world and have a great full-time job to open my own company. And so I took risks and they paid off. But if we are too comfortable, it's more difficult to grow our career.
Thank you for that last bit of advice, Damian. I appreciate you so much for coming on the podcast, and we'll end it there. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Great being with you today.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.